Hello and welcome to The Short, the Fat and the Ugly, the Mexican standoff of movie podcasts. We take two films from a new genre each month, and then one of us champions each, and then lets our celebrity special guest judge decide which is the better film. I'll pick one film and my co-host will pick another. And so without further ado, I suppose I need to introduce him. He is the Noel Edmonds to my Mr. Blobby. He is John. Hello, John.
Hi, guys. Hi, Piers. Yeah, all good.
Right, so John, it's obviously our first podcast. If you want to maybe tell our viewers maybe something about your movie tastes, what kind of films you like?
Oh, quite a selection of movies, really. I like my music, sort of sci-fi, out to horror, out to animated, bit of everything, really.
Cool. But if you had to be on a desert island and only take one movie with you, what movie would that be today?
Something like, I don't know, Fight Club.
Oh, that's a good shout.
Just the music, the actors, like the variation in the film. Yeah.
And that famous line
would be a good choice.
And that famous line that upset the production team a lot. The one that Helena Bonham Carter says. She says in the book.
Oh yeah.
She says, "I want to have your abortion," and the producer said to the director, "You can't say that. That's not okay," because she does actually say it in the cut. So then he goes, "All right, I'll change it, but you have to allow whatever I change it to." And so, of course, when he changes it to the sentence that she says in the film, the producers were like, "What have we done?" Yeah, I guess. I mean, we signed the contract, so we've got to let you get away with that now. Brilliant. Love it.
My God, I haven't been fucked like that since grade school.
You're all ready for this battle, this war today?
Yep, I'm fresh. I've got all my arguments, my counterpoints. Absolutely.
Nice. You see, I've got a problem today in that I know both of the films, the one that I've picked and the one that you've picked. I like both of them. So it was quite a mission trying to find stuff to prove that my choice is better than yours.
Well, I'd never seen your film, so it was perfect because it was first time, honest opinion.
Well, it's time for us to introduce this week's celebrity guest judge, and I have to say I'm quite excited that we've managed to get him on the show. It's quite a big thing. He is, of course, the man that put Channel 5 where it is today.
Fresh.
Star of their cult classic show, The Human Guinea Pigs.
Turn down the heating, turn down the heating.
It is a man who needs no introduction. It is Kirby. Hello.
Hey guys. That is a ridiculous introduction. I like it. And just hearing you saying to John about, what films would you take to a desert island? I'm like, geez, I need to think up something now. I'm like, right, something that, like, to answer that question, which if you're going to do it or not, I'm going to say it anyway, is I'd go for something that I haven't seen in a long time that I know is good. It'd be like either a long ass trilogy, like your Lord of the Rings, because you've got a lot of time to burn, or something like Green Mile, or something that like you can just go into on a few different levels, if you know what I mean, where you can watch it and then watch it again and be like, oh, I didn't see that bit, you know.
Green Mile's a nice shout. I like that film. But I was talking to my kids because obviously growing up with me, they watched tons and tons of films. And they were like, yeah, but let's be honest, you watch more 3-star films than you do 5-star films, don't you? And I sat there and I thought about it and I was like, yeah, most of the time I just don't really want to be challenged. I just want to have something.
I think I prefer the budget ones.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't look at reviews either, really. Like, sort of, I do it, but after I will, but before I just don't. I'm not like, because I think you get swayed. If you go into a film and you've seen like, I don't know what, a 40% out of 100, you're going to go like, I'm not really up for this film. But if you go into it like you've just seen the trailer, hopefully they haven't given away the entire plot line on the trailer, and then like the big sort of picture, you know, where it's like the alien attacking Earth or whatever it is, and you're like, I'm up for this, you know. Yeah. But if you heard someone's review just slagging it off, you're gonna pick up on those points, and then sort of go, you know.
I find though sometimes it helps to temper my expectation, which can only help the film. What do you find, John? Do you sort of dive on into trailers and get yourself all hyped up for it?
Yeah, I watch trailers quite a bit, but what I love doing is after the film is doing all the dissecting videos. You know, you go into a film like Eyes Wide Shut, and the amount of levels, hidden meanings, and everything. That's what I love. Just diving right into it, seeing what the reviewers think. Yeah, that's what I like doing.
Yeah. In the last sort of 5 years, I've kind of switched off from trailers, if I'm honest. I might occasionally watch one, but I've got a fairly good idea of what I want to watch. So, the directors get my ass in a seat more often than I think anything else. Like, if I know that a Tarantino movie's coming out or a Nolan movie's coming out, then I'm there.
Yeah. Tarantino's a guarantee. Got to watch. Like, love them ones definitely.
Right. So, well, Kirby, as you are our judge this week, when you understand, of course, that me and John will be pitching why our film is obviously the best movie ever made and the other ones is utter garbage. So what are you looking for when judging? Just to help. I mean, obviously, apart from bribery.
Well, yeah, I mean, bribery is definitely first. That's got to be in there. And secondly, it's like, because for my attention span, it has to be like, it has to grab you straight away. It either has to have to start with the action, the nookie, or like some sort of plot twist potential. Like, I like it where a film where like the hero turns into the villain or the villain's the hero.
Some friends become enemies, some enemies become friends. Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. Because that gets me thinking more, not just your classic, great. You know, where you're just watching something and you're like, it's mainly when you're watching it with your mum, to be honest, but you're watching something, it's pretty much Downton Abbey, but like, you're like, great. The rich woman's going to fall in love with the poor woman and the family are going to disapprove. And you've said that within 1 minute, and then 90 minutes later of your life, that's what happened. You walk out smug, winner. But you can only do so many of them.
So the theme this week, of course, is a monster mash in honor of Godzilla versus Kong coming out later in the year. And John and I have picked 2 monster movies. Kirby is going to try to explain the story first, and then John or I will help him along a bit. And then also we'll point out 3 things that we think explain why our film is the best, and whoever isn't the person that picked that film is also going to point out why those ideas are rubbish. Right, so we flipped a coin before filming, and we decided that John's going first.
Right.
Amazing.
And
completely legit. I can remember seeing this coin flip.
This is the point in the filming where I realised that we forgot to flip a coin. But it's in my notes right there. So we definitely did it. Definitely. 100%. Right. So, John, do you want to tell us what film you've chosen this month?
I've gone for the classic Them. 1950s, giant ants taking over the world. The threat is real.
Is there any type of gas we could use? No, we can't take a chance. It might poison the whole city.
This is my first venture into like a black and white saga sort of film, because I haven't watched a black and white film in like, Jesus Christ, I can't even remember. Like, actually, it's probably, was Dan Buster's black and white?
Yes, I think so.
Tomorrow the world will know them as...
That was the last film I watched probably years ago with my dad. Like, it's a great film, and he'd be like asleep halfway through, but that, Jesus Christ, does that go on a bit, doesn't it? So I'm expecting like slow start and slow medium and then slow finish, but then when you think about it, the afterthought is like, it's a really good film, you know. But so anyway, so it's like black and white. I'm not expecting too much on that thing, but it starts off with the lady sort of, or the little kid walking through the desert, doesn't she? She looks all confused and stuff like that, and then you're just like, so something's kicking off here. And because you've seen the like the big picture of the ants, you're literally from the off expecting like the ants to come flying out at you. So after seeing the kid walk through the desert, it then like is, what's gone on here basically? Why is there a random ass kid going through the desert? And then it's got the police, they're trying to investigate like the crime scene of what they think could be linked to the, you know, the kid basically, because you're expecting more, you know, natural things, not like the supernatural or whatever, and or big mutant ants sort of thing. He comes through. So then when they get to the investigation thing, right, they see like half a caravan like sort of destroyed, but like, and then they realize they're like, this is destroyed from the outside. And one of the themes through like the start of the film is sugar. They're always like, oh, there's a little bit of sugar there. What's that about? You know, and it did make me want to eat something a bit sweeter than just like having a can of Carlsberg sort of thing. So I had to reach for the Cadbury's cream eggs then. And so it comes to the next bit where, what is the next bit even?
They find a suspicious footprint, don't they?
Hold on, John. Calm down. I'm doing it.
No. This is John's job. This is John's job. He's supposed to be cutting in and being like helping you out.
A footprint? Did they find a footprint?
Yeah. They were like, I've never seen a footprint like that.
I'm sure that was King Kong. So anyway, so you're mixing your films there, John. Right. So anyway, they get to that bit, and then they're like, something a bit suspicious is going on here. But then it cuts to they miss a bit out. I can't remember what happened in between. But then the next geezer comes in, and he picks up. There's a gun on the floor inside this caravan. Yeah, he said, "Oh, you can't touch it, you know, because of fingerprints." So he gets this big old pencil out and puts it in the barrel of the gun and picks it up, but looks down the barrel as well. Like, oh, we're off to a good start here, mate. And then puts it back down.
Do you like the way the police all had their hats at jaunty angles? Like they're all Marlon Brando in The Wild One. They're all like, none of them have them like on properly. They're all like,
yeah, that's your desert thing, isn't it? Like they can sort of chill out a bit because they know
windy. That's the wind tilting their heads.
Yeah.
It does get very windy later. And this brings me to the next scene. The next scene that I remember this is. So then it comes to there like an airfield, and these two guys are coming to greet the doctor, basically. And this guy is a legend. I am keen for this guy. This is the turning point on the film for me when this guy turns up. You know, because he's got his trousers right up. Like, I'm loving this guy. So he gets off the plane. Yeah. Handkerchief in his hand, yeah, and the two guys to greet him like, nice to meet you, whatever his name, I can't remember that bit, don't need that bit. And so he shakes their hand, but he's got the handkerchief in his hand, yeah, so he's just been sort of dabbing his face and stuff. He's all sweaty. He's just arrived at the desert with his trousers halfway up, and he's shaking their hands, and then he goes to the next guy with the handkerchief still in his hand, shakes his hand as well. And I don't know whether that's because we're going through a bit of a global pandemic at the moment that you're sort of more aware of like the spreading of germs, but you're like, damn, this is the doctor turning up with that. Like that's his opening scene. And then like you've got that sort of I don't know what it is, where like the lady gets out the thing, but she randomly is stuck in the plane. So it's sort of like that sort of like a subtle sexual tension sort of thing to it, you know, where they're like, oh, there she is, she's stuck, you know, I can see a bit of ankle sort of thing. So there's that. But anyway, it goes back to the comedy doctor, right? So they're following the doctor. They're just like, cheers, mate. You've just shaken my hand with your handkerchief used in my hand, and then gone to the next guy and done that. And then, so the guy comes, he comes up to try and sort out this girl that's been walking through the desert, the little kid. And she's just there like what's going on sort of thing. Like she's really in shock. So like that's the tension builder basically, isn't it? So they get her down, and then he's like, pass me some acid. You think, oh, this is about to get pretty serious now. The comedy doctor's got an idea. So he puts some acid in a shot glass and then sort of sweeps it under her nose. She's like that. And then she wakes up and she's like, ah, like real sort of, you know, those screams where, oh, Jesus Christ, I need to turn it down. And it's 11:30 at night, you know, like the neighbours or whatever, and they had this coming out of the TV. And then she just goes, them. But there was no point in the film where it referenced them or called them. Like, so that's my first point of confusion, which I need you to solve, to swing me over, is where does them come from? Shaun.
She doesn't know what they are. You know, it could have been nighttime when they attacked. She's just seen this horrible, huge outline of a creature. She doesn't say that's a giant ant. She doesn't necessarily, you know, she's only like 6 years old, they say. So all her experience isn't enough to frame it in exactly what it is. So she's just then, it's the boogie thing. It's evil. That's all she can say, really.
So she
and
saw more than one.
They use the formic acid. It's formic acid because it's actually the acid the ants use to inject into their prey. So that's why she's familiar with it, because it's been stabbing her family.
Jeez, you proper watched the film then. So, anyway, here we go.
As a judge, Kirby, we would kind of hope that you've watched it properly as well.
It was on. Come on, guys. So
I can see a future video though on the YouTube channel. It's like an hour of Kirby explaining movies. Just that cut out of the podcast, just streamed together and just let it play.
It's perfect. I've got it covered. Don't worry, man.
Yeah.
So it's Comedy Doctor that makes it for me. Comedy Doctor is the reason why I want to watch that film again. That's
Dr.
the whole
Medford.
thing on that film.
Doctor,
listen to him.
Don't you love the way he delivers all his lines just as though he were reading them off a script?
It's old school.
There's no fear. There's no panic in his voice.
He's a doctor. He's very pragmatic.
Yeah.
He's very. This is the way it is.
Yeah.
She should be.
So then they're like, the doctor wants to go for a drive. We got to go take him out for a drive. Yeah. So they take him out for a bit of a spin in this car. They actually look quite cool. And also I noted that every actor in like these old school sort of films they're all like sort of over 40s, and anyone sort of under 40s they're the stupid youth, if you know what I mean. It's always like the 40 and above, and then there's like a cameo. It reminds me sort of like a Dad's Army.
You stupid bull.
Where you've got the one guy and he's like the,
Pike,
the stupid one. Yeah, that's
stupid
it.
boy.
Have I just given myself a name there? Right. So anyway,
no, but you have meant that I've got to spend an hour finding a Dad's Army video just to put out like 2 seconds of backup evidence.
So they take him out for a drive, right? And they've all been supplied these goggles, and he comes out. And he's like, what? He's struggling to see, it's like literally a sandstorm going on, and the doctor's got his goggles, obviously he's wearing them around his like neck like that, and it's like, can't see. So then the policeman takes his goggles and puts them on his eyes. I'm just like, geez, Comedy Doctor, come on, sort it out, mate. Jesus Christ.
You notice we're quite a way into the film by this point and still no ants. Like,
that's it. I will say the
brooding tension is mounting, is what you're saying.
I knew you were going to go for tension, but I don't know whether it's tension because the doctor sort of took it away from me. I'm now sort of like, this is awesome, but for the different reason, that I'm just waiting for the next scene of Comedy Doctor. What's he going to put out the bag? He doesn't disappoint. Next scene, right? Next scene that I remember, by the way, so probably 1 or 2 scenes in between. So he comes to, they're in the desert, and the sandstorm's gone. He's not wearing his goggles, so it's definitely a different scene thinking about it. And then he goes, there's this ant turns up and they've got guns, like submachine guns or whatever they are. And then the ant turns up and they're like, because that's the theme, when the ants are near, because you hear like, that annoying ass noise. It comes, the ant shows over the little hill, and they see it and you're like, Jesus Christ, it's actually not bad, like as a point of how it looks from a film of that age, you're like, you're expecting so much work, and
what are you talking about?
So
it's literally just a toy ant that they just push over like the edge, maybe, and like the antenna, they don't even actually move, they just bounce so that it looks like they're moving.
Antennas do.
That's all it is.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Like it.
Yeah. But you might think that perhaps they would have some sort of control rods or something, or I don't know, perhaps some stop go animation, maybe.
Didn't need that.
Maybe like
technology has moved on.
So anyway, so it comes up. So the ant goes over the thing, right? And the Comedy Doctor comes up with his first good idea in 38 years as they're shooting the ant, and he shouts out, "Go for the antennas!
Get the antennae! Get the antennae!"
And it's like, Jesus Christ, it's actually right. So he shoots these antennas that for some reason are flimsy, I don't know why. Maybe there's nothing going on, but they're just doing this, like this, the antennas, like. And then so he shoots it, and one then goes down. Like, oh no! And then the noise is coming, so he's still good to go. And then the other one goes, and then he runs off. So nice one, Doctor. You sorted us out there. And
They kill it.
So then,
they kill the thing, don't they? He's got his Tommy gun. He gets from the car. Thompson.
Yeah, Tommy gun. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. Now,
Right.
I know they're American police, but why does he have that gun in the car? Why? It's very convenient.
He knows there could be a mass murderer in the area that's torn out, that's killed a policeman so far at the warehouse. It's killed an old man that's crushed him. You know, there's a high threat. You know, you've got to weapon up.
Yeah, American police, as I said. Yeah.
Shotguns, machine guns. Why not?
And then anyway, a few scenes go missing, and then they end up down. They find the nest. They go down the nest. They're like, oh, Jesus Christ. But this is the bit where it gets that quite sort of like the tension build up, because although you've seen what they look like, you're still like, you're expecting like, you know, the Queen almost, you know, and then it starts getting like a very like alien vibe to it, you know, where you see the eggs and you're like, oh no, the eggs, they've hatched, you know, so what are you expecting? I think that's where the alien got like their sort of scene from. It was very similar, you know, in the tension building and the eggs and all that lot. So I did like that bit. But what I'm going to do is basically, I don't want to do too much of the film because you've got to keep a little bit of the ending to the people that actually want to see it. So on either of the reviews, I'm not going to go to the end, if you know what I mean. Just say the odd little snippet that got me, you know. So basically, it gets to the bit where the ending happens, and the ending, it just makes me want a sequel. So that is my next question, John.
Cool.
Is there a sequel?
I don't believe so. No, I'm afraid not.
There should have been a sequel. The way they left it,
you just never know.
So did it not do very well in the cinema then to like not get a sequel?
It actually did very well. Yeah, it was very good. I don't think they just did that many sequels back in those days. It was one and done, move on to the next project. Giant spiders, lots of the giant animals came out after that.
I mean, if you look at like the films from like the 30s, they were doing loads of sequels back then. So
monster films.
Yeah, so you've got like an American,
Really?
you've got like the Wolfman, and then you've got the original American Werewolf in London, not the 80s remake that's like legendary. You've got like Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. You've got like Dracula, and then you've got Son of Dracula, Brides of Dracula. If you then go through King Kong as well, like King Kong, they brought out Son of Kong within the same year. Which no one ever talks about that, because Son of Kong is awful. I have a question about the ending, because I think I missed something, and it's you know, I've watched this film a lot, but then at the end I was just sat there and I just thought, I don't remember where they said this, and so correct me, John, but after they take out the nest in the desert, they talk about two queens flying away. Yeah.
Two pairs, the male and the females have gone.
Yeah, they locate they locate the ones in the storm drains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do they tell us what happened to the others?
No,
or is it
because
just
one attacks that ship.
My next point. It's already written down. That's my minus. Parts that don't make sense. It's literally like at the end, Comedy Doctor says, once we've burnt this nest, it's all over. So they burn the nest, and then it's all over. But if you remember the map showed a hell of a lot of nests, you know. And also, I was expecting an above ground fight. Like, I'm sure some of the pictures show ants in cities attacking people. I don't remember seeing an ant in a city. I saw an ant in a drain. I saw an ant in the desert, but I didn't see an ant in the city.
No, originally it was supposed to be ants in New York, and then the ants go down into the subway. That was the original proposed finish of the film. But the mayor of New York apparently said, like, no, you can't do that here. That's just going to worry people too much, or something along those lines. So I think we did well what we did.
Ants above ground that I was waiting for the whole time, and that's why I thought there's going to be a sequel, because I've seen a lot of pictures of these ants, you know, and there it is, disappointment. But it was a good film. I'll put it to that. I can say that. I'm not going to say my overall score because I'm going to do them both together.
Matt touched on it briefly. Is one of the best things I think is the sort of foreboding sound effects. When you're first in the desert where they're by that ripped out trailer, you're like, this is a bit suspicious. Is it a murderer? But there's this weird footprint. So, is it some sort of beast? Then you hear, which is actually a bird-voiced tree frog, multiple of them recorded. That's how they created that sound. And it's just off in the distance. And you're like, what is that? I've never heard of anything like that before. It's the foreboding. And then when they're at the, like that shop, they go to a shop where the old man is in the basement and he's been crushed, and they leave the policeman there. And he walks around the corner and you hear the sound again, and he's shooting and he's screaming. It's for me, that sound effect has stayed with me since I watched it when I was about 10, 11 years old. And as soon as I heard that sound effect again, it gave me goosebumps, because it's that real sinister siren kind of sound, isn't it?
Do you not find it?
Yeah,
do you not find it slightly less annoying than, say, a cicada? Which are just the worst beetles in the world. But I know you don't get them back home. But like in Asia, in Asia, and I think in Australia as well. Certainly here in Hong Kong, you get these bugs, these beetles that sit in trees and just make this really loud sort of screeching kind of sound. It's horrible. It's really annoying. But after a while, it just settles into being just the backdrop of summer. Right, it's just one day it sort of starts, you notice it, and then about a week later you kind of you zone it out. But it sounds exactly like them. And so every time I watch this movie now, I just think about those annoying beetles in trees making stupid noises.
Also, it is the first radioactive influence monster where there's been radiation, because the desert they're in is where there was the first nuclear atomic bomb test site, which is why there's been so much radiation 13 years later, where it is the ants have grown. So you imagine how many movies have spawned from radiation now affecting things like Turtles in the Ooze, Hulk with his gamma radiation, from back then in the 50s all the way to now, how many things have started with that? And this is the first film that's done that. So I think that's been quite a big influence and was a good idea. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to have to give John a plus on that before I hear Piers' argument.
Well, I mean, I'd say that, yeah, it's an influence. I don't know it's a common staple in movies, and that's fine and that's great. But I don't know that's a good thing, because it's just spread fear and paranoia about nuclear energy, which is out of control in some places, I think. And you've still got it today. You've got shows like Chernobyl where their description of what will happen when it explodes is like not particularly accurate and not particularly well done. It just feeds into that fear. It's like if we'd said, oh, look at this 50s film that everybody loves that showed us like a mutated baby because it had a vaccine, and then like years later we're like, oh, there's been loads of films about that, it's great. Oh, but loads of people are afraid of vaccines as well. So it's not necessarily a good thing.
Counterpoint, is it?
But it turns something that's completely harmless. You think an ant is harmless completely, and then because of the size change, it's like, wow, this thing's got pincers, it's got venom, it's turned something so small and insignificant into something that's a real threat. And how many times, spiders have done that with, snakes they've now done that with, and it was a really interesting way, rather than saying, here's this mystical creature that lives on an island that we don't know where it's come from, it's around. There's a good reason. There's a good reason why. They put a bit of science into how it could happen.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think my final point is actually there's a very strong female role in this film. The other doctor, Dr. Medford, the female, she goes down into the colony. She's almost like, with all the flamethrowers, she's almost like Ripley in Alien. You mentioned it. She is like, she gets told, no, you shouldn't go down there. She is like, no, I'm going. She's not just screaming at monsters. It gives a very good
oddly enough,
action
the
portrayal
person
of a female.
who
Really.
tells her not to go down isn't her father. Like the comedy doctor's like, yeah, go on, mate, in you go, sort of thing, isn't it? Like, that's your daughter, mate. You want to be the person saying no, not the other guy. But
Yeah,
you
she wasn't just cast as the love interest and the screen person. She was very thoughtful, I thought, and I thought that was a very good point.
Oh, Piers, it's not looking good for you at the moment, mate. Oh, Piers.
But the thing is, though,
Going to be
is
tears
that
for you.
for 1950s sci-fi movies, and actually in 1940s sci-fi movies as well, it's not that original. In fact, all of the cast in this are the bog standard archetype. Now, admittedly, this film does it very well. But if you watch films like It Came from 20,000 Fathoms, or It Came from Beyond the Stars, or just any of those sort of classic 50s B movies, you've always got the American who's like a soldier, policeman, FBI agent, who's our proper action hero, right? Then you've got the British scientist who has a hot daughter or assistant who's also a doctor. Yeah, and we always have those things, and they're always the love interest. And although I actually agree, yeah, they are strong female characters in some ways. You still do get that. They do occasionally come across like that Mr. Chumney Warner video, you know, women know your limits.
Daphne, we're going home. Women, know your limits.
Right. They still do get everywhere. They get like, it's no place for a woman to be there. It's no place, you know, you can't be doing this, you can't be doing that. And yeah, they do like,
They was all like that back then, weren't they?
Yeah, but to be honest with you, all of those films from those eras, I think people when they're talking about we need strong female characters now, I think they forget that there've kind of always been those strong female characters within the time that they're set. But I don't think that's anything particularly special for them. There's loads of films that have exactly this template.
Comparing it to Kong, where all you get, the only female virtually in the whole film screams her way through it.
Yeah.
And it's always in little.
That just annoys me after a while. Just that is, you when we get onto the Kong bit, you're prepped for it because they're practicing it on the boat. It's
yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And she's there to make it look good, isn't it?
There's a strong amount of Chekhov's gun in Kong. I will give you that. But I'll explain that later, Kirby. I'm seeing your facial expression. Right. Thing I'll say about them as well, though, is that it is absolutely just a straight up blueprint. In fact, I'd say it's quite cynical. So the 50s sci-fi movies, what you were saying, Kirby, about having seen pictures of ants in cities destroying buildings and stuff, right? When Tarantino was talking about making Grindhouse, he said we used to watch these cool movies in the 70s where they'd have these amazing posters, but then you go watch the movie and they can't really live up to the poster because they didn't have the money or the technology or any other things they needed. So when he set out to make Grindhouse, him and Robert Rodriguez were setting out to make a movie that actually did live up to the poster, right? Yeah. And he was talking about that kind of thing. Them is a good example of that. You look at the poster on the front cover, you've got people running, screaming from monstrous ants, tearing people apart and breaking through buildings, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, it can't quite live up to it. But that's a staple of the 50s. But also these movies were designed very cynically for a teenage audience, right? And if you look at the times and the structure of the film, right, so you've got 15 minutes, first attack off screen, noise, screaming, gunshots, right? Then you've got then it's 30 minutes in, first ant, 40 minutes in, first ant's nest. Then you've got a long break, 1 hour, 20 minutes in, you've got the second ant's nest, right? And the design of these movies was so that teenagers could go to the drive-through and they could make out with their boyfriend and girlfriend And then
Of the
they
angel.
just have to. I'm serious about this. This is true. This is the way they set out to make those movies. So you'd have old men sitting in rooms, talking about a solution, right? Which is exactly what you have in this. And then you'd have a moment of action with like a jumpy bit with like the monster or something, right? So that then the girl could sort of scream about it. The guy could give her a hug. Then they've got another 10 minutes of making out before the next bit where the ant comes. And then you've got the same thing again and the same thing again. And it is really cynically paced to be exactly like that. And if you watch, because I've got like a huge collection of like Harryhausen movies, and the 50s, 60s and 70s obviously were his era, but he made loads of these kind of movies where it's exactly the same thing and it's exactly the same template. And once you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's my thought on them. I love them, don't get me wrong.
I think it's very clever because it doesn't show you too much. Like you said, you don't see that much of the ant, but films these days, you see the big nasty thing too much, too soon, too often, and it just takes away the threat of it. To introduce it in stages, the sound first, the head of the beast coming over, then the colony, there's more bodies. I think it builds it up very well, but it does have a slow middle section. I'd agree with that.
Very slow.
But,
40 minutes.
Well,
40 minutes.
Building the tension again.
Yeah. Building the tension.
The sequel that never came.
It's the world-ending sort of story, isn't it? You know, you had War of the Worlds. This could be another end of the world scenario. People must be getting used to by now with these kind of films.
Again, though, I'll say that especially the Doctor, the British Doctor, is particularly responsible for this. He doesn't convey the acting through his acting. He doesn't convey how serious this is. Apart from occasionally going like that, he's always just like, ants they're the only creatures that wage war. Not true, by the way. He's clearly never watched a documentary about chimps. But ants are the only other animal that wages war. They'll wipe us out and take over the earth. And it's like,
and enslave us.
Are we?
No enslaving.
Are we?
He's just very matter of fact, isn't he? He is a doctor. He deals in facts. He's just.
But
this is the way things are.
Nobody else is scared of this. You said about Fay Ray screaming her way through King Kong. At least that shows some emotion and some response. The pet Pat in this just sits there a lot and goes, quite a lot with like her, neat, jaunty little hats. There's a lot of jaunty hats in this movie.
Yeah. They're mainly dealing with military men as well, aren't they? They're like, right, give us the problem. This is how we're going to resolve it. Let's go resolve it.
But there's no sense of urgency.
You're not dealing with the population. They're not letting the population to begin with know about it. So they don't want to incite.
Until they do. And what do the population do when they make the announcement through the city? They all stand there and go,
stay in your homes, I repeat. Stay in your homes. Your personal safety, the safety of the entire city, depends upon your full cooperation with the military authorities.
Yes, cities, nations, even civilization itself, threatened with annihilation.
Oh, well, look,
there's
some army.
We have War of the Aliens.
Yeah, the military driving.
Yeah.
Well, they would be under a bit more tension because building up to the Cold War as well, I guess, was that kind of era. You think they'd be a bit more worried, but maybe they're just used to the imminent threat scenario. It's ants this week. It will be something else next week.
Yeah. As long as it can be a thinly veiled metaphor for communism, then it's fine. We'll use it.
So I think that my actor of the whole film was the little kid, because though I love the comedy actor, as Piers says about reading off a sheet, so the kid was the one that's your first instance of terror.
Which one though? The girl at the beginning or the two boys at the end? Because the two boys at the end are fantastic. There's the one who's crying because he didn't really want to be in the film and his mum's making him try to be a movie star. And his brother who's standing there going like this.
He's just he's just gone through shock, and he is just now like numb.
Yeah.
He is just completely numb to it, isn't he?
It's the kid at the start. That's the one, because she's the first tension builder, not where you're like, oh, there's a footprint, like, that sort of thing, like Bigfoot style, but actual where you're like, oh, this is scary, if you know what I mean. Builds that tension.
Yeah, she's not scared. She is just beyond scared. She is like numb to it. It's that bad.
Yeah.
And they wanted that clip of her shouting them for the trailer. That was quite a big part of the trailer.
And then, where was that reference? Them, just that one bit, though, isn't it? Like, as I said at the start, what was them? Like, the ants.
Evil.
I reckon she could have said more than them. But so, what's
Super
your
radioactive giant ants?
That's what. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, we're on for a film.
Yeah, that's what we were expecting.
6-year-old poor kid.
So, John, favourite person of the film?
I like the police sergeant. The way that just because he's the first person that actually found it, he's actually then all the way through the film he becomes like a subject matter expert. They use him to do everything, and he gets crushed in the end. Poor guy, saving 2 boys, puts himself in front of the ant. Very, very heroic.
Piers?
I'm gonna go with the copper that gets killed by the ant right at the end. It's James Allen Whitmore Jr.
You guys are actually agreeing on something then?
Yeah, he's great.
What you're saying?
He's great. He's doing his worst Marlon Brando impression through 90% of the movie. It's fantastic. Walked out the cinema watching The Wild One, walked straight on set and was like, I've got this. I know exactly what.
Cap.
Yeah, there he is.
We may be witnesses to a biblical prophecy come true, and there shall be destruction and darkness come up in creation, and the beast shall reign over the earth.
Right, well, interesting pitch there from John, but now it's time for Cinema Sudden Death. I'm sure everyone watching has played Sudden Death at some point, and you'll get the idea pretty quickly. Kirby's going to pick a theme, and then John and I have to name things that fit that theme until one of us gets it wrong and we are eliminated. So over to you, Kirby.
Today's theme is a nice easy one. I'll start you off on an easy one, chaps. So today's theme is going to be the actor Tom Cruise. So it's kind of an easy one, I think. So he's got in a lot of films.
There is a lot.
I want to hear them all. So we'll start off. So Jonathan, start me off with the film.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
Risky Business.
5.
Cocktail.
The Colour of Money.
Guys, I ain't even got The Colour of Money on here.
That's the pool one, isn't it? That's where he plays. He's a pool hustler.
Tell me I'm right. Tell me it's not. Yeah, it is The Colour of Money. Yeah, it's the Martin Scorsese movie.
I haven't even got it on here. Go on then. My extensive logs don't say that, but we'll see. Oh yeah, actually no, it's third page. Right, go on then.
There we go. So who's up now then?
Turn, Piers.
What did you say? What did you say?
Legend.
Oh, that's solid. Jerry Maguire.
Oh yeah.
Far and Away.
What's the car one? I want to say Thunderdome, but it's not. Days of Thunder. That's the one.
Tropic Thunder. Mission Impossible.
Right. Are we allowing sequels? Once you said Mission Impossible, is that all?
No, that's it. That's 1 to like what 8? Is there?
Just Mission Impossible covers them all, surely.
All right then. All right. Okay, that's fine. What's the one about the Minority Report?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh no, I'm going to go out. Come on. What's the one? What's the one where he's like the the speaker?
One.
You are out of there, son. Goodbye. Do you know what? You did a lot worse than I thought you would, actually.
That's weak. That is.
That I didn't even realise. Apparently, he's been in Austin Powers. I never even knew that.
Yes, he plays Austin Powers in the film that they're doing of him, isn't he? God damn it!
Like, you're going to kick yourself. Velcro. Night and Day. Jack Reacher. American Maine. Born on the 4th of July. There's a lot, man.
That's poor. That's poor.
Piers, mate. That is terrible.
I've let myself down first day.
I thought that was an easy one to start off with.
Yeah, it is. That's shocking.
Like,
I'm not the biggest fan.
3 pages worth.
Oh my God, he did The Mummy, didn't he? He did like the most recent version.
Yeah, he did The Mummy.
Live, Die, Repeat.
Edge of Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow.
And a film that's actually quite good, The Last Samurai. I like that film.
Yeah, I'm going to admit I'm a little embarrassed.
Hangs his head in shame.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've let myself down. Right. Well, Kirby, next time it's you versus John because it's winner stays on, and I get to
pick the subject.
I'll pick the subject.
Erotic movies. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a win.
Now it's time for my pitch, and can I just say I think I'm pretty confident about this matchup today. I'm pretty confident. Kirby, do you want to tell us what you remember of the story from the 1933 version of King Kong?
Right. So it starts off with an old Arabian proverb, which is quite good because I always think, because you always link them in to the end, don't you? And you think, yeah, that was clever. I like that. I'm going to have to mark them up. But the old Arabian proverb basically just said, watch out for tasty women, which is a clever one. So that works. So they're already on the up there. I'm like, okay, it starts off well.
Watch out for tasty women is your translation of it.
Tell me what it says. Pretty much that. Right. So anyway, so it starts. Let's see what I can remember of the film. So it starts. They're doing a lot of chatting, and there's this woman in the street, and then she just randomly faints. And our hero, the director, was like, he catches her, calls a taxi, and abducts her. You're like, I see where this is going. But he takes her to the coffee shop, buys her a coffee, and it's like, it's got to be a reason why. There's no reason why he's going to buy her a coffee. Like, if that was like someone that he perceived as being ugly, she would be down on the street still. Guarantee that director would have just stepped over her. So anyway, he didn't. He abducted her, takes her to the coffee shop, and he buys her a coffee, and he's like, you're a pretty woman. I want to offer you a job. And she's like, why is that? What does it involve? He's like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just trust me. Just trust me. You know, like as if saying pretty woman helped, you know, like that's already putting it under the seedy context, you know, of like, what's going to happen? We're just going to go on a boat. It's good. It's good. You need a job. You've just fainted. Don't know why. So that's how that works.
He makes it very clear to her. He says, no. You've got me all wrong. This is the up and up.
Yeah, I'm on a level. Like, yeah, I'm sure they all do say that.
No man that's ever said, trust me, it'll be fine, has ever lied. So,
trust me, this YouTube video will be good. Trust me. Right. She's then on the boat, right? So she's got on the boat with him now. And she then gets whacked around the face accidentally by some other geezer. Why did she? What does that add to the film? Like, he's just like, and then I don't even know if he apologizes or not. I probably need to see whether he even apologizes or not. But he's just like, women always in the way, which brings us to that, you know, like where John's right is that The Ants does have a strong female lead compared to this lady who's just like good looking and plays her role of, as you say, screaming through the whole film. So let's see if she does or not. So she does that. She gets whacked around the face. She doesn't even seem that bothered about it, and I don't even think he apologizes for it. And then it cuts to a scene of one of the two roles that Chinese people were allowed back then was either a chef or a kung fu master. So the potato peeler Chinese guy, right? He's there and he's just randomly like muttering, I don't even know, tuned out. Yeah, it then goes back to the smug director who's just abducted that lady. She's now on the boat. She's just been whacked around the face, didn't get apologized to. Didn't seem that bothered about it either, but she's got a job, but she doesn't know how much she's getting paid. She doesn't know where she's going, what she's doing, but that's what she does. But all we know is that she's in a dress, she's not wearing a bra, and she's just been whacked around the face, right? So he then pulls out a pirate map out of his pocket, right? This is the plot twist, yeah? He then shows it to the, what's the name of a boat thing? Not the driver. I don't know. The captain, should we call it? Yeah. This shows it to the driver.
It's all right, Kirby. He's only called captain through the whole film. They like never actually mention his name. They're skipper or captain. That's all he gets.
Oh, there must have been some audio issues on that bit. I forget. So anyway, pulls the pirate map out of his pocket and is like, this is where we're going. So at this point, I'm like, whoa, plot twist. Not only has he abducted the woman, he's abducted the whole boat full of people. No one knows where they're going. This is like severe abduction going on here, this guy. So then they turn up, right? Turn up to their beach resort where they've been promised on this map where no one knew where they were going, what they were doing, where they were getting paid, if they're getting smacked around the face, or if they even getting apologized for it. Yeah. So they turn up, beach resort, very nice. Let's get off the boat. Let's get on there. Let's get our towels on the beds and start getting a tan. Yeah. So they get there, because when they get there, it's all foggy. So I want to prep for it, really. But before then, I almost forgot one important scene. Oh my kidding! I didn't forget any scenes. Right. So they then get onto the beach resort. Right. They come on. They're like, "Here we go. This is going to be good." They then get off the beach resort as they realize there's nothing like the brochure and the locals are not friendly, right? So they're like, not for us, right? They're then back on the boat. Yeah. It comes to, this is your checklist. Piers, checklist ready, mate. Is coming. Yeah. They're on top deck. The guy that's whacked her around the face and the lady in the dress not wearing a bra, right? He's known her for a solid 5 minutes and he's just declared his love for her, right? And the only things he's done with her is basically tell her that women are a nuisance. He's whacked her around the face. Don't think he even apologized for it. Now he's in love with the woman, right? So then he does that. So then the boat driver, goes up.
Remembering, you say like 5 minutes, right? But they leave the harbour in America and they're going to Sumatra. So this would have been like quite a long.
They say 6 weeks. It's taken them 6 weeks to get there.
Yeah,
I was watching it for 5.
That's a note. That is a theme of this film: skipping big chunks of time. There's your first big skip. 6 weeks. 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
Magically, we're here.
With the whole thing about him just saying, "Oh, women are a nuisance on the boat," right? He's like he's nervous. He's this beautiful woman that's on the boat. He's used to just being around men. He's insecure. He's that classic sort of like insecure man, not really knowing how to talk to a beautiful woman that he fancies. So, he's kind of ended up being insulting. The internet's full of examples of that. Just go look at Twitter.
That's a good case there, John. And also, doesn't the actual event happen 13 years after because of the atomic radiation? But I'm not on either side. Yeah.
Well, you've got to give them time to grow, haven't you? 13 years of mutation.
And I mean, they didn't cut to, as I said, where it was like they left the dock. No one knew what they were doing. Halfway through the journey, the director gets out and shows the boat driver where they're going. Everyone's been abducted. Everyone seems well up for it. That's the weird bit. Everyone's well up for it, And
the director's prepping her to scream as well. He's like, "We're going to practice a few of these."
Yeah. No, look up higher. She's like, ah! And she's just realised that she's not wearing a bra and hasn't been wearing a bra the entire thing. You're like, she is going to be cold, and you can see she is cold. So,
Kirby, I'm just going to make sure that you're quite clearly single, aren't you? Because you were just really horny when you were watching this.
Very much so. Of course, my friend. There's a,
You're just
I'm the
like,
one
what?
up from that.
There's a
He's
blonde
coming
girl.
to that.
Yeah. So anyway, they're on this. He's just declared his love after 5 minutes or 6 weeks, whatever it is. There's something in between there. Yeah. And he then leaves her because the boat driver says, come and do some work, or whatever he says. So he's like, oh damn, and he's just got off with the woman. He's like, this is pretty good, and she's not a bad catch, you know.
Yeah.
And so he goes off, and then would you believe it? Again, it's happened. She's been abducted, but this time by the tribesmen on the beach resort. So it's like, oh Jesus Christ, there she goes again. No one realizes
crack team storming the boat.
Finally, option 1 of 2 for the Chinese man. The chef comes up, he discovers the bones, and then he's like telling people, and they're all randomly running about. Like there's no sort of, it's just running about, basically. Just running about because there's like a bracelet or whatever that could have been hers because, you know, we're, I don't know.
What,
and yeah, I suppose there's not really much.
That's a normal thing, isn't it? Bones.
Bones. Which is like a sexy bones garter or something.
But they've seen the guys earlier in the day. They know where that's come from. That's like not a leap of faith at all. And
bloody 2 out of 5 star beach resort.
You say about them running around, but it is refreshing perhaps to watch a movie where there's some sort of emotional reaction to the situation.
John, anything to add?
No.
Oh, you've been done, mate. You've been done. I'm going to have to take away one of your points I gave you earlier. Right. So there we go. Heating up. So they get back to the. I'll check my notes actually after.
I knew you'd vibe with King Kong, Kirby. Both of you being large, hairy beasts. I knew you'd immediately get it.
Large, ugly, hideous beasts. So. Yeah. So she's now a bit of a veteran at this abduction game, and I mean she liked it last time. I don't know what she's going to be up for this time, but so they take her back to the beach resort, the tribesmen, and they're dancing around, swinging like they've never seen a woman in a dress, not wearing a bra before. And then it starts. It goes on to the thing, and that's where you're literally like, right now the film's going to start kicking off now. King Kong. That's how we're doing it. And the bits I'll leave the rest of it to. I'll just tell you a few little points that I found. Is that one, I really enjoyed the bit where they went past the wall, and like I was like, oh my god, I forgot that there was all these other monsters and stuff like that. You know, you see like a stegodon or whatever else like that, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. But for some reason, they're in the most peril they've ever been in their life, I'm sure, and they're just stumbling about, falling over everywhere. These guys trying to like just randomly
jungle terrain, isn't it?
I'm like, I wonder whether that was even put in the scripts. Like, yeah, now guy third in row randomly fall over, and like it just kind of it merges in where you're like, this is a crossover between Jurassic Park and The Hangover. You know, you're like, this is almost like it's something that I didn't realize I wanted, but I had it and I liked it. You know, it
was more like Benny Hill for me. Like people just put Benny Hill music over the top. They're just stumbling, running through.
That's a perfect analogy.
It's like a comedy. This is a monster comedy for me. That moment you see Con coming through the woods, you're like, why has he just broken down all these trees? This is like the spot that he takes the woman every time. Is he not like already broken down? I didn't get it.
Well, I think he probably takes a slightly shorter route because it's like, you know, she's something he's never seen before. So he's like strolling through the jungle. He's like, yeah, I've got my path that goes over there and around there. Oh, hang on. What? Wow, that's different. That's how I see it.
Wearing a bra.
I mean, you can probably explain this, Piers. What are they actually doing? They're doing a ritual, almost sacrifice, an offering to a godlike creature.
I think it is.
That's what they're doing.
Sacrifice. Yeah.
So, do they not do this? Like, is this every week? How many people? Is this a yearly thing?
Yeah, those trees did not go back quickly unless he took the shortcut, like Piers suggested. And then if he took the shortcut, he then spent ages just looking at her. And the thing, also the theme is that it's quite like a childish sort of thing to him. So once he won the battle, which he inevitably won, like he would beat that T-Rex, which was quite cool to see that battle between the T-Rex and King Kong. He would play with their jaw, and then you see like a pterodon or whatever it was. He would play with like that thing. It was like a playful thing afterwards, and you kind of, I know they're trying to build up like you sort of feel for King Kong because he's just trying to protect the lady, which, to be honest, mate, old Arabian proverb, avoid the tasty lady.
Without a bra. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah,
I really like those moments, like that bit where he's killed the T-Rex and then he reaches down again and he sort of moves the jaw again, because that's part of like how he's just killed it. So I always think that's really well observed of like gorillas and how they move now. I think now clearly he doesn't really look that much like a gorilla because he doesn't have like the shape. I mean, you know, he's big, he's black, he's furry, you know. But he doesn't look like a gorilla, right? He looks like the monster version of a gorilla, and that's the limitation of the animation that they're using to make him. But those little things, those little character moments, those little sort of behavioural things that they didn't need to add in really add to him as a person. It really makes him more than just being a thing on screen. It helps suspend your disbelief a little bit longer and a little bit better.
There was a lot of dissension of disbelief in this, I think. Because, I mean, if you looked at the island, the map he had, it looks about, the size of the Isle of Wight, this island?
Yeah.
Yet there's massive prehistoric animals on there. How many apex predators are in such a small location and they're just not killing each other every single day? He kills 3 in the space of about half an hour.
Yeah, and they clearly didn't know anything about dinosaurs at all because there's like a diplodocus there, right, or a brachiosaur, whatever it is, the long-necked one,
Loch Ness monster in the water
that has suddenly got like sharp incisor teeth and is like eating people, and it's like, well, that's a herbivore.
When you look at King Kong's teeth, he actually has like herbivore style teeth where it's all flat, almost as if to try and make you feel more appealing, you know, appealing to it, if you know what I mean, where you know, what
do you think he did to the offering of sacrifice? Would he eat it?
Oh, I mean, they definitely died. There are bones
In what
around.
way do you think?
Was
he eating them? Because what made him not eat the girl?
I don't know. And they make that choice deliberately not to show you because they want you to empathise with Kong. So, and that's like the skill that's on display of the filmmakers is that they knew exactly the choices to make you empathise with him. And you do see the bones around, so possibly, but he doesn't kill Fay Ray's character, which has just gone out of my brain what her name is. But we don't know that
do one of those kill counts. He kills he kills all the guys, he knocks them all off the log. Yeah, they're not a threat to him. It's interesting because he's used to humans because he's got all these villagers that he's willing not to kill, only on the proviso that they have to give him a sacrifice.
But those humans are scared of him, so have clearly not gone past their wall, right? And so, and also you say about the size of the island, but from the map it looks quite small. But that's a scribbled picture from the memory of a guy who got it from a dying guy, right? But then when you see where Kong lives, like the shelf, like high up the mountain, you can see in the distance the wall where the village is, and it's miles and miles away. I think more of an issue, rather than the size of the island, is how Jack, the Bruce Cabot,
runs it.
How he teleports, like
and then carries her back again.
Yeah, like in so easily. Yeah,
he's got good map reading skills. He's got good like navigation.
Yeah. One thing I would like to see is
it's that way.
The Ant made me want a sequel, but King Kong made me want a prequel, and I wanted the prequel to be about the building of that wall. Like, how the hell did they build that wall? There would be a serious distraction going on with the 30-odd apex predators parked 2 meters away. Like,
I used to think that, right, until I moved to Hong Kong, and they, scaffolding outside of buildings. Over here, they don't use like the metal pipe scaffolding; they use bamboo. And this bamboo goes like 30, 40 stories up in the air. And I was like, they're walking around up there without like, necessarily like harnesses and stuff. And I'm stunned, but it never falls down. Typhoons come along and, sometimes the typhoons will take
it flexes, doesn't it? It's got natural flex to it.
Yeah, it's amazing. But then it makes things like the wall in King Kong seem a lot more plausible.
But I mean, building it. Not actually building it. I'm building with the dinosaur distraction going on.
Yeah. No, I get that, but presumably they've got there's definitely a ravine the other side of the wall that Kong steps over. There definitely is like a big pit that's would have naturally formed to somehow help them. But I mean, all of these things,
over it.
Huh? He steps over it when he reaches and grabs.
No, but the wall. He's pretty good at climbing, Kong. He can climb an Empire State Building, so a little wall in a jungle is probably not the hardest thing for him to climb over.
Well, I think it's
probably not designed for him. Maybe it's all the T-Rexes and other stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, but also the hint is that the sacrifice of the girl would possibly like appease him and send him off, rather than him coming back to the village all the time. So maybe that's why they do it. Because
there would have to be that huge ravine, because otherwise it would be like feeding pigeons at Trafalgar Square, wouldn't it? With all the dinosaurs and stuff, like, Jesus Christ, we've got to start throwing some friends and family over this wall now. You know, like, but
every fantasy film, and especially monster movies, whether it be them or whether it be King Kong, there's always something at the beginning where, if you're okay with this, the film basically says, if you're okay with this bit here, then you're going to enjoy the journey we're going to go on. But if you're going to sit and ask about this bit here, then, so like with them, we have to accept that nuclear radiation can turn an ant into, what do they say, like 6 foot or more than 2 meters long at one point, he says, but they're even bigger than that, aren't they? Basic high school science teaches you that an ant that size couldn't actually lift its own weight, couldn't actually function, and would just collapse to the floor. So if you can accept that one thing, then we've got this fun little story that we're going to tell you that you can sit back and you can have fun. And with King Kong, it's like, if you can accept the premise of this island, that somehow it came to be with this village on it, then we've got this great little story where actually that bit doesn't really matter. You can have some fun with us whilst we tell you this tale of a gorilla and his favorite bride.
I bet they thought about doing a prequel, don't you think? They're like, oh, what can we do?
Yeah, I mean, the concept of prequels is quite a modern thing in cinema, though, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't remember there being prequels in the 80s. I remember there being sequels. We all remember the glory of Highlander 2, for example.
Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, Highlander 2, The Quickening.
No, am I the only one that loves Highlander 2 and how awful it is? Oh, it's literally the worst movie in the world, but I could watch it forevermore. It's just genius.
Another bit that I really liked, another highlight, was, so they took him back to New York. Yeah, he chained up. It was the classic, the photographs were making him angry and all the rest of it. And I don't know whether they thought it was attacking a lady, which I think Simpsons has covered that one as well. Because that's what I could think of when he was climbing up the Empire State Building, was the Simpsons one where he's got Marge and he keeps like just chewing on her hair like a lollipop. But so he escapes, and then they run back to the tasty woman and the guy that like whacked her around the face and didn't apologize. They went back to the hotel room and she was really scared and stuff, and he was trying to calm her down and like reassure her, like, oh, it's going to be okay, they've got him, the military's out now, they got because they get planes out and stuff. And then in the background, in like it's the second best scene after the Hangover and Jurassic Park bit, where he's in the background, like some dirty git at the window, and then you just see the hand come through, like the hand in like the perfect straight line, just go like, and then get her like that. You're like, oh, the film that kept on giving. There it is, one more gift for us. But then, like, I suppose the reason why he climbed up the Empire State Building was because previously in the film it showed he put her up high in a trunk to keep her safe. So he was blatantly thinking the same thing of like climbing high to keep her safe from all the little people downstairs that are trying to attack her. And yeah, then
he randomly destroys a monorail or above ground.
Oh yeah,
train, for no reason. I just kill these people. If you were trying to feel sorry for him, that bit completely turned him around, because that wasn't attacking him.
Yeah, it's a back and forth how you feel about King Kong film, isn't it?
Well, you've got the wild animal loose and not knowing what's going on kind of thing there, haven't you? That's what they're trying to depict.
Why didn't he just, like, I'd say with Matt, like, he's used to going high, isn't he? So why didn't he just climb up straight away? It just confused me. What I like you glossed over was the whole logistics of how you got this huge monkey with the gas grenades on the beach onto the boat.
The gas grenade one.
6 weeks back. You were saying, Piers, you're like the disbelief.
Yeah.
There's an island, but come on, they got these little rowboats. How are they getting him on there?
Explained in one simple sentence: we will build a raft. That's what he says. That's what Carl Denham says. We'll build a raft. It'll be fine.
What do they feed him?
Yeah,
6 weeks he's on that boat.
Gas bombs, I think, mostly.
Yeah, but he would be like
a carrot occasionally.
Skeletal Kong. No.
Didn't you think it was very sinister the way Carl Denham said, "Oh, he's different. We've sorted him out." When they was chained up, he's more placid. What have they been doing to him? They've been torturing this poor gorilla.
Yeah, probably.
They say
the
animal rights
right?
film. This is crikey.
The thing is that because obviously it's like 80, 90, it's 90 years old, right? This film, basically. Yeah. So there's a lot of things you can level at it. But the one thing, when I see people criticizing it for all sorts of reasons, like social reasons, yeah, whether it be sexism, racism, animal abuse, any of these things, I think a lot of people forget that the guys that bring Kong back are not the good guys in this movie.
No.
Denham,
he's just after money, isn't he?
Denham, the director, is not a good guy at all.
I called it with the abduction from the start. But scene 1.
Yeah, although he's not interested in the girl and her lack of bra. He's interested in the money he can make off her lack of bra.
But I've never seen this film before, and my impression was that I would feel, by the end of it, I would feel sorry for the gorilla. I would have more empathy. There'd be more of a relationship even between her and the gorilla, but there wasn't. No. She was just screaming. No, she was terrified. There was no like.
Have you seen the Peter Jackson version?
No.
Right. So the one thing I'll say, the Peter Jackson version is overlong and it's self-indulgent, but the one thing they do better is you do care about Kong. At the end, when he dies, both she and you as the audience care about Kong. Yeah, he makes subtle little changes to the story to show to make you
see how that would be better.
And
I imagine she doesn't care. Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is an element of that. She is just reacting through fear, isn't she? There's no real love.
There's no bond. There's no bond that's grown between them. She's a plaything to him, and that's it.
Right. So then, shall I tell you my 3 reasons why I think this film is great and why it's better than them? So, right. Well, let's start off with simply two of my points about it are just purely about filmmaking and the ability of filmmaking. Right. So the first one is purely structure, and also I said earlier on about Chekhov's gun. Chekhov's gun is, for those that don't know, that are watching, is the idea that if you put a gun in the first scene of your play, by the end of the film, somebody has to have used that gun. If they're not gonna, don't put the gun in the film, right? Once you know about that, it kind of ruins movies. So a really good example of Chekhov's gun is Shaun of the Dead, the Edgar Wright movie, where they literally talk about a gun at the beginning and whether it's loaded. And then in the final scenes, it becomes a plot point as to whether it truly is an actual gun that's actually loaded or whether it's just a replica. Right. So the reason that became a rule is because if you have something just pop up out of nowhere, it throws you out of the film quite often. And you see it in quite a lot of modern films where something just conveniently pops up or happens. Right. And so instead you have this concept now of set up and payoff, and they do it really well. So, for example, you've got the little monkey on the boat that Anne bonds with quite well. Right. And he's like a little pet that's on the boat, and he responds quite well to her, and that sort of sets up for why that helps us subconsciously accept that Kong would be more enamored with Anne when he picks her up. Denham references Beauty and the Beast when they're on the boat. He says, tough guys, guys are a tough guy, but once Beauty gets hold of you, you go soft, and then you're crushed by all the little people. Yeah, which is not only a reference to the story of Beauty and the Beast, which people would have known back then as well, just as they do now, but also it prepares us for what's going to happen later on in the film. The cliff where Kong lives and then climbing up the Empire State Building at the end, it allows them to have their big final moment with the airplanes by showing us that he feels more comfortable up high. And also, you just mentioned about Anne getting hit in the face on the boat. And that then sets up what I was saying about how I see Jack being sort of like a insecure guy trying to talk to like the pretty actress that's come on the boat and doesn't really know how to do it, right? But her getting hit by that early on shows you that she's not particularly at home or comfortable with her situation or the scenario they're in, but it also excuses more. I mean, you can see Jack as just being sexist, and he is, fair enough, okay, but it was in the 30s. It's that era film, and that helps explain why Jack is like that. Not only that, but what I said about them is the structure of the film, and this has the same structure, but it does it better. Again, you've got 15 minutes they're on the boat, 30 minutes they're on the island, 46 minutes you're with Kong, an hour and 24 minutes they're in New York. So that's whereas in them, you have men sitting around talking. You have 5-minute shots with the ants, and then you have men in offices sitting around and chatting. For this one, from 46 minutes to 1 hour 24, you've got solid monsters fighting each other. The monsters are the main attraction of this movie. Everything else is just bringing you into the film and giving you people that you care about beyond the actual animals, right? But the reason it does it better is because the film also reinvents itself. It doesn't tell you everything straight away. Every single time we have one of those key timestamps, something new is added to it. So Denham's got to get an actress. Okay, so he's a director making a film somewhere. Okay, but we don't know where and we don't know why. Then 30 minutes to on the island. Okay, so now we found out that actually he's got this plan that they're going to an island. So it's not a movie about trying to get a girl to make a film anymore. Now it's about a sort of a cunning weasel, kind of duplicitous guy, sort of trying to get some sort of advantage from this island that he's heard about that no one else knows. Then suddenly we see the sacrifice. We don't know what the sacrifice is going to. Suddenly we see Kong. Then we have this sort of monster palooza going on. And then beyond that, once we've had all of the monster fights, we then take Kong back to New York and we have a social commentary. And so each time you have that new moment that's bringing your attention back, it also changes up what the film is about. And that helps bring your attention. Right. So that's my first point. It's structure and the way they build through the script.
I think that's helped by the fact that it's like a journey as opposed to, as you say about the men in there, because they're always sort of moving, aren't they? And then they're moving back, and then they've got the finale with the big city. So that is the baseline is helped there. It's a stronger base.
So then we've got the effects, which were groundbreaking at the time. Now, all of the things that I'm about to mention had been done before, but not to the extent they were done here. And most importantly, they used multiple effects layering on top of each other to give you a better outcome. So you've got stop motion for start off, which is done by Willis O'Brien, who is the guy who trained Ray Harryhausen, who, I know I'm showing my age, but I think he inspired a lot of people's youths with films like Jason the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans. And the Sinbad movies, which I really, really love. And like we were saying earlier, the 50s sci-fi. So you've got the stop motion. Now, they realized whilst they were doing the stop motion, that if you have any of the animals standing still, that they immediately look like a doll just on a set. So that's why you have that kind of weird continual motion that they have, which, that gets improved a lot. And now you've got companies like Leica making movies like Coraline, where it's much, much better, and you've got Aardman Animations. But at the time, that was just like a simple sort of artistic choice to beat the sort of limitations of what they're doing. You've then got rear projection. So that's whenever, when the Stegosaurus charges them. So you've got a screen with some scenery around it, and then they use the projector behind the screen using a reversed image, so that they can have the actors react directly with what's going on that screen, which is why you get that layered effect. You've then got matte paintings, some awesome matte paintings. So that's again, backgrounds painted on glass. And there's at least one shot, I think it's when Kong is looking out, where you've got the stop motion going on. You've got you've got a matte painting combined with it. And when he's like looking out, and it's quite beautiful, where you can see like the whole island. And then you've also got miniatures. And then you've got the shot of Kong's lair, where he fights the snake thing with little legs. Yeah. It looks like a snake thing, but when he picks it up, it's got like little legs. So there you've got all of the different techniques all combined into one shot. And it took them months and months to pull this off. The shooting was going on for like more than 8 months, and the actors would do like a couple of weeks shooting. Then they went off, and like Fay Wray apparently completed a complete other film in between times that she had to do shooting for King Kong. I think Bruce Cabot, can't remember how to pronounce his surname, but he also, I think, made an entire film in the gap between the first round of shots and the second round of shots. And this was revolutionary. This was, I think, it made as big as an impact as it would have done for us when we went to see Jurassic Park for the first time. When that brachiosaur comes out, and you're like, wow, it's awesome. And they're like grazing in the background. He's like, they do move in herds. It's like phenomenal. And people going to see King Kong would have just been like awe-inspired. It's just
I remember when I went to see Jurassic Park for the first time, I was on a camping holiday with my mum and dad. And I was scared to go to sleep that night, because I was only little, and it was just like I was sort of, oh no, like expecting something to pop his head through the tent, like ooh.
Clever girl. Right. Okay, so then my third point is like the bigger cultural significance of King Kong. This film has spawned 11 Kong movies. You've got King Kong, you've got Son of Kong, you've got King Kong versus Godzilla. You've then got a 70s remake. You've got a sequel to the 70s remake. You've got, references in TV shows. You've got kids like a Peter Jackson film. Now you've got Kong Skull Island. All of these, like it's such a part of our culture now, and it has such an influence 90 years later that every 10 years there's been a remake of some sort. And so just consistently it keeps coming back, and that it's only because of the power of that first film and the impact that it made on filmmakers for generations. It hit on something special. There were big monster movies before this, but not many. And all of the monster movies after this refer to King Kong in some way. So it's just, it hit home. It made a ton of money. Its budget was about $600,000, and it made $5.3 million in the box office alone. But I bought King Kong, the 1933 version, about a year and a half ago on DVD. And that's the second time that I bought it, because I had it on VHS before. So it's still earning money to this day. It's just an epic landmark. of cinema.
I think the funniest part of this movie is when Kong does finally fall off the Empire State Building, and everyone's like, the police are there, and they're like, and the director comes in, and then he's like, "Oh, you're this guy," and I was expecting him to say, "Right, you're under arrest. You've caused how much damage? How much murder? It's yours."
Yeah,
and they're
that's
not.
true.
They're just like, "Oh yeah, look, the monkey's just here."
That's the story
come and
of
have
the
a look,
sequel.
mate.
Yeah, come and have a look.
That's the story of Son of Kong, because everyone wants to sue Carl Denham. So he runs away onto a boat from New York and goes back out to try and find something that can like save him financially. And that's how he finds Kong's son.
He just brushes it off. He's like, "Oh no, it wasn't the police that got him, or the planes. The beauty got him."
Yeah.
No,
well, you know,
you take him out of his environment, got him.
We blame the women, obviously, because it's her fault. You know, we're all men.
Yeah, it
We
wasn't
can
me, guys.
possibly-
It's
no,
her fault.
Obviously not. No.
He's like
I
a
tried to
normal
buy her a
man.
bra.
His hormones
Yeah.
took him over.
If she'd worn
That's
a
what I
bra, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the temptation of women has driven him to do all this and kill himself.
Yeah.
It did it. That's not the story I got.
Yeah, but again, he's not the good guy of this movie. And I don't think that when they were writing it, I don't think they ever thought that he was going to be the good guy of the movie. I mean, you've got Jack, who's is the closest thing you've got to the action hero. But he doesn't really, I mean, apart from running into the jungle, he doesn't normally in a film like this, you'd expect to see him duel one of the animals like single-handedly and kill it, or, you know, something like that. But he doesn't. I mean, he cuts a rope to make one fall off. And that's about it. That's about all you get. So he is brave, but he's not, you know, he's still a part of it. It doesn't redeem him in any way. And I think that's what's great about Peter Jackson's remake, is that both Jack and also Anne don't want anything to do with the King Kong show once Carl Denham's got him back to New York.
Yeah.
So then King Kong rampages through New York trying to find Anne, which makes more sense.
I like the way he finds that.
I like the special effects in this film. Like you said, it's groundbreaking, but every single time they did a close-up of Kong, I just could not stop laughing. The eyebrows going up and down. I've heard in the newer ones, you get the more humanity in his eyes, and you get more Bond, because they say they have similar eyes to us. I just wasn't getting that from this. It just made me absolutely crack myself up laughing.
At least it was slightly animated. Like a hot water bottle.
Wait, as you see the kid's hot water bowls, you're like, would you like a little monkey? And he's like, oh no, actually that's King Kong. He's quite friendly, and when you look at him.
But at least it was animated. At least they didn't have like the eyebrows just sort of like hanging on springs, so that when they move the whole thing, it's sort of like the antennas just dangle up and down.
I didn't think they just didn't need those close-up shots. I don't think it brought anything to it. The threat of him, the size.
I mean, now we can look at it and we can, like you said, I also find it funny when Kong throws the people off the log and they all turn into dummies, mannequins that like collapse, like their arms
falling
going
down
like
the cave.
weird like directions. And the same is true when Kong is still, you know, I've watched this film so many times, and when Kong falls off the Empire State Building and he bounces off the first ledge, it's
like Homer.
It just
Homer
looks
Simpson
ridiculous.
falling down that.
It does, but with all of these things, cinema is there to try and elicit some sort of reaction, hopefully an emotional one where you've bonded in some way. So yes, that is funny, and yes, I will, you know, concede that the effects obviously 90 years later look dodgy as hell, but you know,
I'm only comparing it to them. Yeah, I'm not saying it's obviously
No.
for the time it was amazing, but I think less is more in some of these films.
Yeah,
which
but I mean, with them,
definitely did.
you've got some close-up shots of the ants. That's like they take up the full screen, and you can see it's literally just a football stuck on a bit of cardboard.
Yeah,
with some fur stuck on it. Yeah, there's like no attempt at. I mean, I know they're ants, so you can't make them that expressive, but it is still just.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want the ant to be that expressive. All you're after is that just. They're a drone and threat, kill it. That's what you want.
No, But I think one of the reasons that King Kong has, like, everybody that watches this video will know King Kong. Not everybody will know them. And I think when you've got films like Eight-Legged Freaks and stuff like that reference them quite strongly, fair enough. But, you know, immediately the moment that they can move, they look more of a threat. If you look at Starship Troopers, right, then, you know, I was watching that the other day, and those effects still hold up pretty well, mostly. And, you know, they look so much more of a threat, those essentially beetles, than the ones in them do, simply because of a bit of movement. So I would have liked a bit more leg movement, or because, you know, I mean, insects have a sort of a pneumatic system, so they could have had that in the legs to make them move more, or they could have used stop go animation. So
but it's the potential threat. It's like the first Alien film, you know, this thing slowly moving in the shadows. You don't see too much of it, just a head or a glimmer. I like that sort of, but you don't see the whole thing moving straight away. The potential lurking threat is what I like.
Yeah, but you do still have those moments, like the two boys in the drain at the end, where the ants could clearly just walk through the wooden block in front of it and grab them, but they don't. They just sort of go like that on runners.
Those are some really famous sewers as well, those LA ones, aren't they? So many films have been filmed. Greece.
Are they the Terminator ones?
Yeah.
Greece.
No, I don't think that's the same. I don't know.
Which Terminator movie are you talking about?
You know where the old
when they're driving
going on.
Oh, it might be. You know.
It might be they're further up.
Yeah. Yeah. It is funny though when you're watching them talking to the mother of the two boys, and it's essentially the set from Greece. Someone in the comments is going to be like, "Oh, you idiots! It's not the same place at all. Well, you're so stupid."
To us, it looks from LA. The same.
Yeah, it does. I think at that point it's time for Kirby to step up and choose which film he has decided is the best.
All right, so I'll start off. Is that King Kong, I'm going to score first, and that is rated out of 100. Yeah, I'm scoring that 82. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Well, you know,
not
it's
bad.
A bit low, but you know,
82 out of 100 is, you know, it's not a bad score. But them, I'm scoring 81.
Yeah.
So King Kong is the winner.
Yeah.
So he's saying it was so tight, you just had to give it to Piers because he.
Well, because the thing was, right, is so King Kong got me on the fact that it was good at building the tension. Yeah, you can't deny that. It was very like, you know, with the journey thing. You know, you're always like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? Like even the crew of the boat didn't even know. Everyone was abducted. No one knew what was going on. You know, until they were actually at the beach resort. So it was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then, so that had that aspect of it, which I liked. Then it had the fact that there was loads of like dinosaurs and stuff like that. It wasn't just focused on one sort of villain or whatever King Kong is, you know, because it's very up in the air on whether he's like, you know, you feel sorry for him or whatever else. And yeah, that's another good point. But the third point, which is a negative point, is that I had to pay $5.99 on Google Play for it because nowhere shows it. Like, I'm like, oh, Netflix will have it. Surely Netflix has nothing that old, like, you know. So that's kind of the arrogance of, yeah, I've got Netflix, I can watch whatever. But no. So there's my review. So the negative wasn't really negative on the film as such. But with them, as I said before, I wanted a sequel, you know, because you did the way it ended. You're like, this has to be a sequel, and I'm like, maybe I'm being stupid that I haven't seen a sequel, whatever. And also because, as we say, you know, that Tarantino thing where you want the film to be as good as the picture, you know, that you see the poster with the city and all that, you know, the big attacks from that, which I never saw, which I constantly was waiting for. And then when it comes to the end, I'm like, what? It can't be the end. I've seen the poster, you know. And then the comedy doctor, he definitely made that film. This would be low 70s, this film, without that guy in. Like, it was just like the fact that the doctor's shaking hands with a used handkerchief still in the hand and things like that, and just everything. Like, he got out, as I said before, you know, with the goggles like round his neck in a sandstorm. There's so many good like, he was the only one that didn't complain about his daughter going down into the nest, you know. Like, there's lots of points where that doctor made the film, you know, but the negatives were that it's a slow grind, you know, as Piers got his like time stamps out where after 40 minutes nothing's been done, after an hour and a half nothing's been done, 3 hours in something happens, you know, that sort of thing. So it's a slow burner of a film compared to King Kong. It doesn't have you quite as like, well, what's happening next, you know. Although everyone knows Kong and you get the gist of it, you find yourself you wanting to see what's going to happen, you know. So that's why I scored Kong for the win this time. So
funny actually, because I thought you were gonna say it the other way around. I thought you were gonna say, because like I said, 15 minutes in they've already had the ant attack, whereas 15 minutes in you're still stuck on a boat in Kong. But
yeah,
I guess
they got me with the
Kong, it
abduction.
ramps it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you've got that
So
monster island, right?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
you know, I was gonna say contentious decision there, but I'm going to say you've obviously made the right choice, the natural choice, the obvious choice, some would say.
Fair enough.
And, so on that note,
which of them would you watch again, though? Would you watch either of them again?
I would watch them again because I want to see the wheels on the side. I want to see how they work, because I think the way they work is that I think there's like a pole in the middle of them, because when you look at the legs, they're just sort of, you know. So I'd want to watch,
push it, put it back.
Yeah. Because, like, as you said about Starship Troopers, where they are fast, these arachnids are like, you know, that's kind of the scare factor. But as John was saying, where he liked the lurk in the dark, you know, in the sewers, what's around the corner kind of thing. And
yeah,
I don't know. So I would watch them again, but I want to watch Son of Kong. That's on my list now.
Imagine King Kong without a budget.
Yeah. So when you hear a bad thing about a film, it almost gets me wanting to see it more, you know, like Sharknado or whatever, you know, they're so like bad that they become good, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know that it's quite in that category. I think it's just like, you know, you'll be sat there watching it and you'll be like, yeah, I could be watching King Kong instead. It's essentially the same movie but better. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, I think them could have cut out the whole middle section of like actually how to get from A to B like Kong did, but I think it's important stuff. It's the world threat. No one dies in Kong.
Time to make out, dude.
No main people die in Kong either. Everyone gets away.
I thought half the people do when they go on the Jurassic Park to the Hangover mix over the wall.
Not important people. Not main characters. Not main characters.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas
it's
the sergeant,
quite bold.
You know,
yeah,
it's a shame.
It's a bold move. I'd forgotten that happened actually, and I watched this the other day and was like, "Oh my god, I've forgotten that happened."
Because you expect him to get up in the drain just in time and be saved, don't you? But
my daughter Willow was watching it with me, and she does like a dark ending. So she was like, "Oh, please let ants take over the world. This would be cool."
Yeah, I think that's
great.
Good.
Go on.
They never really mention the sugar again, do they? I thought there was going to be a big plot of like, we've got a sugar factory and we know they're going to attack the sugar factory.
Yeah, underneath the sugar factory.
They see a couple of blocks of sugar in the room. They're like, "Oh look, sugar! It's just been knocked over." Surely they make a big point of the sugar. It's like
they give it a token gesture later on.
They're trying to hint.
Isn't there like a train car or something that's broken into?
Yeah, there's a train car. Yeah.
And doesn't the guy there say something like, "What kind of maniac would break into a train car?" And it's like, "One with a sweet tooth." Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well then. So, you know, with that having been said, there's time to end the pod for this month. Right. However, we do have one last thing to do, and that's our ongoing competition, which we are going to be running between the three of us. And that is our movie predictions. So the three of us can take a look. I'm going to read you the IMDb descriptions of these movies, and they're going to be released between the time we filmed this and the time that we film the next one. And if you can predict the Rotten Tomatoes score. Now, Rotten Tomatoes scores continually change depending on each new critic that writes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the score on the day that we film the next podcast. Okay. And if it hasn't been certified, either fresh or rotten, either fresh or rotten, then we'll wait and we'll do the next podcast. We'll score those predictions. Okay, so we'll score them as they come in. Also, because at the moment, any of the films that I name here could suddenly be postponed 6 months. So, we'll make our predictions and they'll sit there and they'll stay until we have a definite answer. Okay? Is that clear for everybody? Right. You get 1 point if you are within 5% of the actual score that we take as being our metric, or you get a bonus 3 points if you are exact. So, first film is The Little Things, which has come out already, actually. It came out January 29th. It's a thriller starring Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. And the description is 2 cops track down a serial killer. So we've got some, fairly big names. Rami Malek, that's the guy I think that's playing the bad guy in the new Bond, I think.
Mr. Robot? Is he from Mr. Robot?
Yeah, I think that's him. And played Freddie Mercury, didn't he? Isn't that the same guy as well? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Denzel Washington, obviously. Everyone knows Denzel Washington. And Jared Leto, who did, I presume, everyone's favourite version of the Joker, right? Yeah, the greatest.
Ooh.
The best one, right? Sorry, I tried to keep a straight face for that. Yeah, right. So there we go. And 2 cops track down a serial killer. So not at all like Seven in any way, shape or film. Right. So, gentlemen, predictions. And we're going to go John first. We'll alternate who goes first, though. Don't worry for this one. So, John, you're going 51%. Oh, he's hedging his bets. Me next. I'm going to say with that crowd, I'm going to go 80%. Kirby?
68%.
68%. Nicely done. Right. Next one is probably the greatest sounding comedy to have ever come out of Hollywood. Barb and Star goes to Vista Del Mar, which is out on February the 12th. It's a comedy film starring Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo, and lifelong friends Barb and Star embark on the adventure of a lifetime when they decide to leave their small Midwestern town for the first time ever. This kind of comedy, I always think, scores really badly, but it's always like quite popular because they're quite cheap to make. So it's like an Adam Sandler movie. So I'm going to give that a 45%. Oops, I'm typing on the wrong thing there. I'm going to give that 45%. Kirby, you're next.
What's your game? 71%.
71? You're relying on Kristen Wiig after her performance as Cheetah in Wonder Woman 1984, which was just a terrible, terrible film. Spoiler review coming to the channel very soon. Right, John, what do you reckon?
35%.
35. No confidence whatsoever.
It's gonna bomb.
Nice to see.
Jeez.
Right. Here we go. I'm gonna bet that neither of you are aware this film exists because I wasn't aware. Tom and Jerry, live action and animation, starring Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena, and Ken Jeong. So we've got Hit Girl. We've got the friend from Ant-Man, and we've got the angry shouting Korean guy in every
Mr.
comedy
Chang from Community.
ever. Yeah, right. It's an adaptation of the classic Hanna-Barbera property, which reveals how Tom and Jerry first met and formed their rivalry. Kirby, you're up.
Is it animated?
Think like Mary Poppins. It's live action with animation on it. Or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, something like that.
50%.
The trailer is awful. I'm going to go out on a limb and just say the trailer is bad. Right. John.
Sticking to my 50.
69%. Got a good
Woo!
deal.
Nice.
Giggity.
And I'm going to go 32. Right. Oh, so the next one, though, I've got two more left. Raya. I'm going to say Raya. Raya and the Last Dragon. It's the new Disney movie. Comes out March the 5th. Latest animated film from Disney, starring Kelly Marie Tran, Alan Tudyk, and Gemma Chan. In a realm known as Commandra, a reimagined Earth inhabited by an ancient civilization, a warrior named Raya is determined to find the last dragon.
40%.
40?
40.
It's a Disney movie.
Dragons have been done. 40.
Your signal cut out then.
But this dragon's a comedy dragon, though. So, think Mushu in Mulan, because Mulan was great. That didn't cause any problems for Disney at all.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
As someone who lives in Hong Kong, that was an interesting time. John, Raya and the Last Dragon, the new Disney movie. They've come off Frozen and Enchanted and Frozen 2. And you said 40. I'll take it. I'm a little surprised. I'm going to go with, let me think. So we've had Moana. How many films have we had from them since Enchanted? So, not Enchanted. What's the Rapunzel one? The one with the hair?
Oh, Tangled.
Tangled. Right. So we've had Tangled, Frozen, Moana, Frozen 2.
Films.
So we've had 4. Now, in their golden era, what did they have? They had the Little Mermaid. They had Beauty and the Beast. They had like a run. You always have a run of movies that are great, and then something goes wrong, and then you have one that's like a bit rubbish. And then you get like Pocahontas and Mulan and things like that, which are a bit, yeah. All right, I'm going to go 76. No, I'm just going to make a beeping noise that's just annoying to everyone. I'm going to go 76. Kirby, what are you going with?
Woo! 60.
60. Oh, we've not got a lot of faith in Raya and the Last Dragon.
Nah.
And the final one is Coming to America. Yeah, it's the same title as the film it's a sequel to, but instead of 2 this time, they've used the number 2.
Hey, here we go.
See what they've done there? See?
Just about.
That's like Look Who's Talking
second
2.
film. Yeah, there we go. The sequel to the 80s comedy Coming to America, starring Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, both of which have been doing stellar work. No, they haven't. Oh, I suppose actually Eddie Murphy's on a bit of a comeback, isn't he? Because he did My Name is Dolomite, which is absolutely brilliant. Right, well, the African monarch Akeem learns he has a long-lost son in the United States and must return to America to meet his unexpected heir and build a relationship with his son. I'll tell you now, if they cast Mel B, Scary Spice, as the actual mother of his heir, I will give this film all of the money. I will go and watch it on repeat just for the sheer hilarity of that whole situation. To be honest with you, I don't actually know much about it. I just know that they were involved, so that if there was anything really bad and I've just said something really offensive, I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to give that. Comedy sequels done 20 years later are always really good signs of quality, aren't they? So I'm going to give that 58.
Oh no, he's going in low.
Of course I am. Kirby, what are you doing? Where are you going for?
80.
80. Right. You've got some strong faith.
I was
You're going 80 as well?
80.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. There we go.
Instant sequel classic.
Well, Well, I'm impressed at how brave you guys are being. And
I reckon Eddie Murphy can pull one out of the bag.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Or apparently his lack of ability to pull out of a bag is more of an issue in his life. Thanks, guys, for an excellent first podcast. And we just need to say that the next podcast, the main competition between me and John, the genre is going to be computer game movies, a high benchmark of quality. That always is. If you liked our video today, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And we will see you next time.